Before we begin, I want you to listen to me with absolute attention, because what I'm about to tell you is not something you will learn from books, not something you will find in trading courses, and not something most traders ever discover until it's too late. I built fortunes in the market. I lost fortunes in the market. I survived panic, manias, bear raids, and some of the most violent sell-offs in Wall Street history. But there was one enemy I barely survived, one force that nearly ended my career and would have ended my life as a trader if I had not understood it in time. FOMO, the fear of missing out. You may think you understand it. You may think it's just jumping in too early or chasing a move. No, FOMO is far more dangerous than that. It is the emotion that controls you before you even know it has begun. It is the voice that turns your confidence into doubt, your plan into impulse, your strategy into chaos. And if you do not master this one emotion, you will never master the market. You will never master yourself. Every trader who ever failed thought they were losing to price. They were not. They were losing to FOMO, quietly, slowly, invisibly, until everything collapsed. I know this because I lived it. I fought it, and I paid for it with some of the most painful losses of my lifetime. So if you're watching this, you must hear me clearly. Your biggest losses will not come from bad strategies, but from the trades you take because you were afraid to be left out. If you turn away now, you will spend the next few years learning this lesson through losses you never needed to suffer. But if you stay, if you give me these next few minutes, I will show you the truth that saved my career and will change yours forever. Let's begin. Part 1. The trap that every trader walks into. When I look back over my life in the markets, there is one enemy that haunted me more persistently than any stock operator, any syndicate, any bear raid, and certainly more than any chart pattern or trend. It wasn't the market, it was myself, and the most dangerous version of myself was the one captured by FOMO, the fear of missing out. You may think FOMO is something new, a disease of the modern world, an affliction born from social media, alerts, group chats, and the noise of this digital trading age. But I need you to understand something clearly. FOMO existed long before screens, long before the internet, long before computerized charts. I fought this demon over a century ago, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that FOMO is the silent killer of every trader who believes he is immune to it. One force that nearly ended my career and would have ended my life as a trader if I had not understood it in time. FOMO, the fear of missing out. You may think you understand it. You may think it's just jumping in too early or chasing a move. No, FOMO is far more dangerous than that. It is the emotion that controls you before you even know it has begun. It is the voice that turns your confidence into doubt, your plan into impulse, your strategy into chaos. I was one of the sharpest tape readers of my generation, and yet FOMO humbled me more brutally than any single loss ever did. Let me tell you what FOMO truly is. It is not excitement. It is not opportunity. It is not intuition. FOMO is fear, pure, unfiltered fear. The fear of being late, the fear of missing profit, the fear that someone else sees something you don't, the fear that the market will reward everyone but you, and fear, if allowed to speak louder than your reason, will always lead you into ruin. There were times in my life when I entered trades, not because the tape confirmed my judgment, but because I couldn't bear the thought of standing still while others rushed forward. I entered because I saw movement, because others were excited, because the air in the room changed, because I imagined a future where I was the only one left behind. But the market does not reward imagination. The market punishes impulse. You must learn this truth. When you enter a trade from FOMO, you are reading emotion, not the market. I learned this the hard way. I remember days when the tape would start flying, prices ticking higher and higher, and I felt that familiar tightening in my chest, that voice whispering, "Hurry, Jesse, don't let it run without you." I believed that voice, and that belief cost me more than any single bear raid ever did. Because when you chase a move, you surrender something crucial. Control. You give up control of your entry, control of your logic, control of your judgment, control of your plan. You hand the reins of your mind to the very emotion you should distrust most. Hear me carefully on this. The move you chase is never the move that belongs to you. If the trade was meant for you, you would have seen it calmly, clearly, early, without pressure. The moment you feel pressure, the trade is no longer yours. When I was older, and I looked back at the trades that cost me the most, I saw a pattern that shocked me. It wasn't the bad ideas that hurt me. It wasn't the poor analysis. It wasn't even the losing trades themselves. It was the trades I entered, because I feared missing the opportunity. Those trades were born out of emotion. They were rushed. They were undisciplined. They came from a place where my judgment was clouded, my rules were forgotten, and my concentration was weakened. Those were the trades that set off the long spirals, the ones where I tried to fix mistakes with more mistakes, the ones where I doubled down to avoid feeling wrong, the ones that grew from small losses into avalanches. FOMO is not just a mistake. It is the beginning of a chain reaction. If you do not stop it at the first link, it will drag you through the entire sequence of bad decisions. You chase, you enter late, you lose discipline, you widen your stop, you ignore your rules, you double down, you panics, you pray, you exit at the worst moment, you feel sick, you vow never to do it again. And then, you do it again. I know this cycle intimately. I lived it, and I escaped it. Only when I acknowledged that I was not losing to the market. I was losing to myself. If you want to survive this game, you must learn what I learned. A trade taken from urgency is always a losing trade, whether it loses money, or loses discipline, or loses confidence. The cost is always greater than the reward. What I want you to understand is this. Every trader feels FOMO, even the greats, even the disciplined, even the seasoned men who can read a tape as easily as reading a book. But the great traders do not obey the feeling. They watch it, they acknowledge it, and then they let it pass, like a wave that never belonged to them. The trader who survives is not the one who acts fastest. It is the one who waits, longer than his fear. I became profitable, not when I learned to avoid FOMO, but when I learned to recognize its voice and ignore it. Do not believe that the market rewards the one who chases the hardest. It rewards the one who sees the clearest. If the opportunity was yours, you will see it in time. And if you didn't see it, it wasn't yours. This realization is the beginning of wisdom. And wisdom, not excitement, is what keeps a trader alive. Part 2. How FOMO destroyed even me. Confessions from my own mistakes. When traders speak about me today, they talk about my wins. They talk about 1,907. They talk about 1,929. They talk about the days I made millions, while others watched the world crumble. But almost no one talks about the trades I chased, the trades I entered too late, the trades that weren't mine, the trades I should have left alone, the trades where FOMO played me, as easily as a child plays marbles on a sidewalk. You see only the legend, but I remember the man, and that man was not immune to the same emotions that trouble you today. There were times, far too many, when I stared at the tape and felt it gripping me. The numbers began to run, the price began to surge, the room grew louder, the brokers shouted, the atmosphere heated, and even with all my experience, all my study, all my understanding of market behavior, I felt it. The pull, the urgency, the fear that the move would run without me. Do not think I speak from theory. I speak from wounds. There were days when I told myself, Jesse, don't chase this. Wait for your level. Wait for proof. Wait for the market to come to you. And then, moments later, I would do exactly the opposite. Why? Because FOMO does not speak to your mind. It speaks to your instincts. And instincts, when untrained, are louder than intelligence. I remember one trade in particular. The tape was showing strength, or at least it looked like strength. The stock was shooting upward, tick after tick, as if the market had suddenly remembered that gravity had been optional all along. I felt excitement swell in the room. Men rushed forward with orders. Clerks scribbled furiously. There was a sense that something big was about to happen. I felt it too. My pulse quickened. My breath shortened. Every part of me whispered, "You're going to miss it if you don't act now." And so I acted. I entered. It was a mistake. Not because the stock immediately turned, though it did, and violently so, but because in that moment, I had betrayed my own method. My entry was not based on analysis, not on confirmation, not on the behavior of the tape. It was based on emotion, pure and simple. I wasn't entering because the market was offering me a trade. I was entering because my fear insisted that if I didn't, I would regret it. Ironically, the regret came anyway, only stronger. That day, I lost more than money. I lost confidence. I lost clarity. I lost the connection between my mind and my method. That is what FOMO does. It disconnects you from the trader you're trying to become. The damage is not measured in dollars. The damage is internal, invisible, sharp. It strikes at your discipline, your judgment, your belief in yourself. When you break your rules no longer protect you. And without protection, every decision becomes dangerous. I want you to understand something clearly. Bad trades don't ruin traders. Bad trades are part of the business. Every trader has them. Every trader survives them. What ruins traders are emotional trades, the ones taken outside of method, outside of clarity, outside of discipline. I could always recover from a loss that came from following my plan, but the losses that came from FOMO cut deeper, lasted longer, and had a way of eroding my confidence from the inside out. There were times when I would leave the office after a FOMO-driven loss and feel as though my entire understanding of the market had evaporated. It wasn't the money. It was the feeling that I had failed, not in trading, but in character. I remember sitting alone one night after such a day, looking at my notebook and realizing how far off course I had allowed my emotions to drift me. I had written earlier that week, "Trade only when the tape confirms. Never because it is fast. Never because others are excited. Never because I fear being left behind." And there I was, hours later, having ignored every word. The stock I chased had turned sharply against me, not because the market wished to punish me, but because I had misunderstood what my fear was telling me. Fear of missing out is not a signal of opportunity. It is a warning sign that you are no longer in control of your decision-making. The market didn't hurt me. I hurt myself. I learned a simple truth that night, perhaps the most important truth I can leave with you today. If the trade did not appear in your system, it was never your trade to begin with. The moves that evoke panic, urgency, and excitement are the moves meant for someone else. Someone who positioned earlier, someone who waited patiently, someone who acted from clarity, not fear. By the time FOMO appears, the best part of the move is already gone. This realization changed my life. You must understand something. The market tempts with speed, but rewards only patience. It punishes those who chase, but protects those who wait. Whenever I felt that urge, that instinct to get in now, I learned to pause, not to think, but to breathe. A single breath can save you from a week of pain. If you feel FOMO, you are out of sync. You are reacting, not reading. You are guessing, not observing. FOMO divorces you from reality and marries you to imagination. And imagination, in the market, is lethal. I lost more money imagining future profits than I ever lost from legitimate trades. When you imagine a trade running without you, your mind creates urgency. Where none exists, you begin fighting ghosts. You start trading fantasies. You forget that the market owes you nothing, and never will. I had to teach myself to let opportunities pass. It felt painful at first. It felt like watching a train leave, with a seat that had my name on it. But eventually, I realized something profound. A move that requires chasing was never my move. My best trades were never fast, never frantic, never emotional. My best trades came when the market quietly aligned with my judgment, when evidence was stronger than excitement, when clarity was stronger than fear. And here is something else. You must hear from me directly. Whether or not you act on FOMO determines the kind of trader you become. A trader who chases will forever remain a spectator, begging to be included. A trader who waits becomes an operator, carving his own path through the market. I wasted precious years fighting FOMO the wrong way, by trying to outsmart it, outrun it, outthink it. But FOMO is not beaten with intelligence. It is beaten with awareness. Awareness of what you're feeling. Awareness of why you're feeling it. Awareness of the traps your own mind sets for you. And once I understood this, FOMO lost its power over me. In the end, FOMO destroyed traders, not because they are weak, but because they have never learned to separate urgency from opportunity. When you do, your entire trading life changes. And now that you understand how FOMO destroyed even me, you are ready for the next step, recognizing the signs that FOMO is controlling you before the damage begins. Let's continue. Part 3. The silent signs you're trading with FOMO. When I speak to traders today, I notice a common mistake. They believe FOMO announces itself loudly, like a man shouting across a room. But the truth is far more dangerous. FOMO rarely screams. It whispers. And because it whispers, most traders never realize it has already taken control of their decisions until the trade is over and the regret sets in. Let me tell you what I learned the hard way. FOMO begins long before you press the buy button, long before your chart shows momentum, long before your hands start trembling, or your heart begins to beat faster. It begins in silence. It begins inside you. It begins with subtle shifts that only a disciplined trader can detect in time. If I had recognized these signs early in my career, I would have saved myself from some of the worst losses of my life. But because I failed to see them, FOMO guided me like a blind man through rooms full of open traps. I will tell you these signs now, not because they are pleasant to admit, but because every trader who ignores them will eventually be broken by them. The first sign appears when you start watching the market more than you are studying it. I remember days in the bucket shops when I would stare at the tape with no plan in mind, just a restless need to see movement. I told myself I was being observant, but really, I was waiting for something, anything, to give me an excuse to act. When your eyes follow the market without intention, FOMO is already stirring. There were times when I looked at a stock, not because it fit my criteria, but because it had moved earlier that morning. I began searching for reasons to enter instead of reasons to wait. This shift is subtle, so subtle that most traders never notice it. But I assure you, it is the first crack in the armor. The second sign reveals itself in your breath. Yes, your breath, when you feel your breathing accelerate, even slightly. As a stock begins to rise or fall quickly, you are no longer watching the market with a clear mind. You are reacting. You are anticipating. You are imagining profits before the trade even exists. This is a dangerous moment because when your breath changes, your judgment follows soon after. I used to stand in the trading rooms of New York and feel the air shift around me. A stock would spike and the room tightened. Men inhaled sharply. The tension thickened. It felt like standing in a storm just before lightning strikes. And even if I tried to remain calm, my body betrayed me. My breath would shorten. My pulse would quicken. My hands would hover closer to the order slip. When your body prepares for action, before your mind gives permission, FOMO is already in control. The third sign is the illusion of special information. You begin thinking, other traders must know something. This move must mean something. There must be news coming. Someone smarter, faster, is already in the trade. This belief is poison, because the moment you assume others are more informed than you stop trusting yourself. You lose your foundation. You lose your edge. The market becomes a race you can never win. When I was young, I watched older traders run into positions because they overheard whispers of rumors or news. I thought they had knowledge I didn't. I thought I was missing critical insight. So I followed them, not in judgment, but in fear. Every time I did, the market punished me. Not because the rumor was wrong, but because my entry was born from weakness. And weakness attracts loss, the way blood attracts sharks. The fourth sign is impatience disguised as opportunity. You tell yourself, if I wait, I'll miss it. I don't want to be late. This is my only chance. Understand this clearly. When you tell yourself, this is my only chance, you are already defeated. The market gives endless chances. It is your mind that creates scarcity. I remember telling myself, if I don't buy now, I'll regret it. Well, but that regret was a fiction created by emotion, not reality. The true regret was always the regret that came later, after I had entered a trade. That was never mine. The fifth sign is emotional anchoring. You start imagining how much you could have made if only you had entered earlier. You replay the move in your mind. You calculate the profits you didn't capture. You dwell on missed opportunity. This mental replay does not help you. It corrupts you. I used to obsess about moves I almost caught. These fantasies distorted my judgment. They created an emotional residue that clung to my decisions, like dust on a mirror. When you dwell on what could have been, you are no longer seeing what actually is. The sixth sign is subtle but deadly. You begin caring more about price movement than price behavior. A stock makes a big candle, and you assume it means strength. Volume spikes, and you assume it means interest. The market starts running, and you assume you are missing out. But I will tell you something. From a lifetime of watching the tape, movement without structure is noise. And noise is the most expensive teacher a trader can follow. I once entered a rising stock because it spiked 5 points in a matter of minutes. The room buzzed, men cheered, the tape ran hot. And then the stock collapsed with the same violence that had lifted it. The spike wasn't strength, it was distribution. It was manipulation. It was the exhaustion of fools, chasing ghosts. The move had never been real. Only my emotions were. The seventh sign is perhaps the hardest to admit. You begin acting because you are afraid of inaction. When a trader fears being still, he is no longer a trader. He is a gambler, searching for stimulation. I knew men like this, brilliant men, men who had enormous skill, but they could not sit. They could not wait. They needed action, the way some men need whiskey. Trading was no longer a profession for them. It was a craving, and cravings never end well. If you feel uneasy during silence, if you feel compelled to do something, if your mind tells you that inactivity is failure, you are in the jaws of FOMO. The eighth sign is when your chart becomes louder than your analysis. You zoom in, you zoom out, you redraw lines, you switch time frames, you add indicators, you remove indicators. You are not analyzing anymore. You are searching for excuses to justify action. This behavior is not analysis. It is emotional negotiation. It is your mind attempting to make fear look like logic. And the ninth sign is the most dangerous of all. You stop asking, does this trade align with my method? And start asking, what if it goes without me? The moment your question changes, your fate is sealed. When I was older, wiser, and weary, I realized something that I hope you understand now. A trade driven by the fear of missing out is already a losing trade. Before you even enter it, before you even press the button, before the first tick goes against you, because the outcome of a FOMO trade does not matter. Even if you win, you lose, because you strengthened the part of yourself that betrays your discipline. And a trader who rewards his worst impulses cannot survive. I tell you these silent signs so you may recognize them before they ruin you, the way they nearly ruined me. You cannot defeat FOMO by fighting the market. You defeat it by knowing yourself. And when you know these signs, when you can detect them. In the quiet moments, before emotion takes hold, you will no longer be controlled by fear. You will act from clarity, from strength, from timing, from logic, from the foundation that turns traders into operators. Only when you can recognize the earliest signs of FOMO are you ready to learn how to dismantle it completely. That lesson comes next. Part 4. How I Escaped FOMO. If you have followed me this far, you now understand where FOMO comes from, how it destroys even the best traders, and the silent signs that reveal its presence long before you ever place a trade. Now I will tell you how I escaped it, how I broke free from the trap that nearly ended my career, how I learned to step out of its shadow and trade with a mind that no longer trembles when opportunity appears without my permission. Let me be clear. I did not escape FOMO because I became fearless. I escaped it because I became aware. Fear never disappears. Not in trading, not in life, but awareness transforms fear from master to servant. There was a moment early in my career when I realized something with stunning clarity. I did not need to defeat FOMO. I only needed to understand it. Because once you understand a fear, it loses its ability to control you. The first breakthrough happened on a day I still remember clearly. The tape was running hot. Stocks were moving with strength and speed. Traders around me were shouting, rushing, feeding on the momentum, as if it were electricity. I felt the familiar surge rising in my chest, the urge to act before I missed the move. But something stopped me. A simple thought, a quiet question, one I had never asked myself before. I asked, why am I in a hurry? Not, should I enter this trade? Not, what if I miss out? But, why am I rushing? That question frightened me with its simplicity, because I had no answer that came from logic. Every answer came from fear. I realized then that if I could not explain my urgency could not be trusted. And if my urgency could not be trusted, I had no business entering the trade. That moment changed everything. From that day on, whenever I felt the surge, the tightening chest, the shortened breath, the quickening pulse, I repeated the question, why am I rushing? And every time, the answer revealed the truth. I wasn't entering because the setup was clear. I wasn't entering because evidence was strong. I wasn't entering because the tape confirmed my judgment. I was entering because I didn't want to feel left out. Once I understood that, a strange calm washed over me. The market no longer controlled my reactions. My awareness did. The second breakthrough came from understanding movement. For years, I believed that fast movement meant strong opportunity. But the market taught me that fast movement is often the least reliable signal of all. A stock that surges has already rewarded someone, but rarely the man who chases it. I began studying the tape with new eyes, and I discovered a truth that reshaped my entire career. The best trades do not create FOMO. They create clarity. That means, if a move makes you nervous, it is not your move. If a move makes you excited, it is not your move. If a move makes you desperate, it is not your move. If a move makes you rush, it is not your move. Your move comes quietly, calmly, logically, without pressure, without urgency, without emotional noise. When I finally understood this, I stopped chasing. I stopped reacting. I stopped forcing my presence into moves that were already spent. This led to the third breakthrough. I built a rule that saved my life more times than I can count. A rule I want you to take seriously. If I didn't see the setup early, it was never my trade. This rule alone helped me avoid 80% of my worst mistakes. It prevented me from jumping into momentum that wasn't real. It prevented me from entering late and being slaughtered by the inevitable reversal. It prevented me from letting other traders' excitement override my own judgment. If a move surprised me, I let it go. If a move shocked me, I let it go. If a move appeared suddenly and demanded immediate action, I let it go. Because the truth is simple. Surprise is the enemy of control, and control is the heart of trading. The fourth breakthrough came when I learned to sit still during the storm. This was not easy. In my early years, I believed sitting meant missing out. But with time, I discovered a deeper truth. Sitting is not inaction. Sitting is preparation. When I sat still, I learned more. I saw more. I understood more. I became a student of the market, not a slave to its motion. Opportunity never disappeared while I was sitting, but clarity appeared. Patience strengthened, and my entries became the sharpest I ever made. I used to tell young traders around me, the big money is made in the waiting. But what I never said publicly was the second half of that sentence. The big losses are made when you refuse to wait. The fifth breakthrough was the most powerful of all. I learned to treat FOMO not as an obstacle, but as a signal. Whenever I felt it rise inside me, I did not fight it. I observed it. I questioned it, and then I used it. And I discovered a truth that reshaped my entire career. The best trades do not create FOMO. They create clarity. That means, if a move makes you nervous, it is not your move. If a move makes you excited, it is not your move. If a move makes you desperate, it is not your move. If a move makes you rush, it is not your move. Your move comes quietly, calmly, logically, without pressure, without urgency, without emotional noise. When I finally understood this, I stopped chasing. The sixth breakthrough was internal. I changed the question that guided my decisions. I stopped asking, what if it goes without me? And began asking, is this evidence or emotion? Evidence is slow, steady, logical. Emotion is sharp, fast, urgent. When you learn to tell the difference, your trading becomes unrecognizable from what it once was. And the final breakthrough was perhaps the most freeing insight of my entire life. Missing a move is less costly than entering the wrong move. Let it go. Let it run. Let others chase it. Let others get excited. Let others feel the rush. You sit. You watch. You wait. You prepare. Your opportunity will come, but it will come quietly. It will come with structure. It will come with proof. And it will come without asking your emotions for permission. That is how I escaped FOMO, not by becoming fearless, but by becoming disciplined. In recognizing the moment, fear tried to disguise itself as opportunity. If you learn this, truly learn this, FOMO will never control you again. But escaping FOMO is only the first part. Now you must learn to replace FOMO with something better, something stronger, something consistent. That is the final lesson, and that is where we go next. Part 5, the mindset that replaces FOMO forever. Now that you understand how FOMO enters your mind, how it tightens its grip, how it whispers through your instincts and blinds your judgment, you must learn one final lesson. The lesson that separates the trader who survives from the trader who disappears. It is not enough to escape FOMO. If all you do is fight it, you will live in conflict forever. A man cannot stand against a storm every day of his life. Eventually, he grows tired. Eventually, the storm wins. So you must do what I learned to do. You must replace FOMO with something stronger, something unshakable, something that does not react to noise, excitement, or fear. You must replace FOMO with the mindset of an operator. Let me tell you what that means. An operator does not chase. He does not react. He does not hope. He does not rush. He does not fear missing out, because he knows something the average trader never learns. The market will always offer another opportunity, but he will only see it if he remains calm enough to recognize it. Most traders are driven by motion. Operators are driven by structure. They look beneath the surface of price and study the intention of the market. They wait for alignment. They wait for pressure. They wait for confirmation. They wait for the moment when the market reveals what it has been hiding. This mindset cannot exist in the same mind that fears missing out. FOMO cannot survive. Where patience is strong, it cannot live. Where discipline lives, it cannot influence. A man who trusts his own plan more than he fears losing opportunity. I did not become Jesse Livermore because I was fearless. I became Jesse Livermore because I was patient, painfully patient, infuriatingly patient, patient in a way that looked foolish to most men, but it was this patience that saved me over and over again. There were days when the whole market was moving, running wild, exploding with activity, and I sat still. Men around me would scoff. "Livermore, are you asleep? Don't you see what's happening? You're missing the move." And I would simply reply, "If the move is mine, I will catch it. If it isn't, I have no business in it." This was not arrogance, it was discipline. And discipline is the antidote to FOMO. The operator's mind is built on layers of discipline that replace emotion with method. The first layer is acceptance. You must accept that you will miss trades. You will watch price run without you. You will see opportunities that were not yours. You will feel the sting of, "I should have entered earlier." Accept it, hold it, let it pass. Regret is a shadow. It only grows when you chase it. The second layer is clarity. Clarity is not the absence of confusion. It is the ability to see through confusion when the market is chaotic. When candles are moving fast, when noise is everywhere, the operator sees only structure. He sees level, he sees patterns, he sees pressure, he sees imbalance. He sees the truth beneath the noise. Noise triggers FOMO. Structure destroys it. You replace FOMO by training your mind to see structure before you see movement. The third layer is identity. You must understand something that changed my entire life as a trader. The market rewards identity more than strategy. If you think like a gambler, you will trade like a gambler. If you think like a child chasing toys, you will trade like a child. If you think like a follower, you will trade like a follower. But when you think like an operator, calm, methodical, deliberate, you trade with power. My greatest trades did not come from predictions. They came from alignment. I aligned myself with the market's truth, and truth does not need to be hurried. The fourth layer is detachment. You must detach from the outcome of any single trade. The moment a trade becomes important, FOMO appears. You begin thinking, "I have to catch this one. This one can't slip away. This is the big one." These thoughts destroy clarity. They cut the legs out from under you before the trade even begins. When you detach from outcomes, you no longer fear missing out. The market becomes a field of possibilities, not a battlefield of lost chances. And the fifth layer is trust. You must trust your method. You must trust your rules. You must trust your timing. You must trust the hours you spent studying when no one was watching. You must trust the mistakes you suffered through and the lessons they carved into your mind. If you trust your method, you do not chase trades. You wait for them. Waiting is not passive. Waiting is tactical. There were months in my career when I placed only a handful of trades, not because I was fearful, but because the market did not align with the identity I had built. The market does not reward activity. It rewards correctness. The operator's mind is built on the understanding that doing nothing is often the most profitable action. When you internalize this, FOMO cannot exist within you, because FOMO thrives on the illusion that you must always act. But the truth is the opposite. You must act rarely, and only with clarity. The final layer is confidence, not the loud, arrogant confidence of youth, not the reckless confidence of a gambler on a winning streak, but the quiet, unshakable confidence that grows only from discipline. I carried this confidence with me in the years when I became wealthy and in the years when I lost everything, because confidence is not about results. Confidence is about consistency. FOMO appears when your confidence fades, when you doubt your ability, when you question your timing, when you fear being wrong. But confidence eliminates fear by giving you something stronger to stand on. When you trust your identity, your plan, your structure, your discipline, movement does not tempt you, noise does not seduce you, speed does not frighten you. Opportunity does not pressure you. You simply observe. You wait, and you strike, only when the market gives you permission. That is the mindset that replaces FOMO forever. It is not a trick, not a hack, not a secret technique. It is an identity, a way of thinking, a way of seeing the world. You are not trying to avoid missing out. You are trying to avoid losing yourself. Once you understand this, FOMO becomes irrelevant, because the trader you become matters far more than any trade you could ever take. The man with FOMO chases what he fears losing. The operator waits for what he truly deserves. And the market always rewards the man who waits